Hey guys, my name is Linda. I'm telling this story because right now, this is the only way I have to talk. I ruined my wedding and I lost my family because of my bad decisions. Please listen to the story to the end and don't judge me. I've been dating a guy since college. His name is Bruce and he's just great. He immediately made it clear that he had serious intentions with me and that being with me wasn't a phase he was going through. He introduced me to his family, and they accepted me as their own. I loved spending time with them. There was always an atmosphere of kindness and fun in their house. Bruce's parents loved to take care of me and were interested in my life. And his younger brother, Jack, always knew how to make me laugh. I felt like they were the family I'd been missing in my life. My relationship with my parents has always been difficult. I don't know why. I was never a difficult child, but I always felt like my mom and dad were tired of me and wanted me to leave as soon as possible. And soon, I had the opportunity to do just that. Right after college, Bruce proposed to me, and I was incredibly happy to say yes to him. We scheduled the wedding to happen in 6 months, and I just couldn't wait for it to be the happiest event of my life. We were spending so much time in the bustle and preparation for our wedding, and at some point, I began to notice strange things happening when it came to the behavior of my fiance's brother. He had changed, and he became sad. On top of that, I realized that he was trying to tell me something, but didn't dare. One day, Jack was helping me with my shopping, and that's when I finally figured it out. He started talking about my relationship with his brother, and he said that he was very jealous of him because he was so lucky to have found such a good girl. That was a nice compliment, but there was more to it than that. I realized that Jack felt something for me, and I felt really uncomfortable. This went on for several months. Every once in a while, he would start this conversation again, and at some point I realized that he was in love with me. In fact, I felt sorry for Jack because my heart belonged to Bruce, and there was nothing I could do about his feelings. But soon, the balance shifted, and the scales fell to the other side. It all happened at Jack's birthday party. There were a lot of guests. Everyone was having fun and dancing. Jack somehow found the courage that day to tell me everything straight out. He said he loved me, and he didn't want me to marry his brother because then his life would lose any meaning. I didn't even know what to say to that, but suddenly he leaned over and kissed me. And that was exactly what Bruce saw when he walked into the room. Everything that happened next was utter horror. Bruce started running toward Jack, and I don't know what would have happened if our friends hadn't reacted and started pulling him away. He shouted and swore and insulted Jack. His friends took him away to comfort him, and I stayed with Jack. I felt sorry for him. I didn't expect this to happen, and I had never expected this anger from my fiancé. Over the 3 years of our relationship, I had never seen him like this. After that, I explained everything to Bruce and told him that it was a literal accident. Everything was okay between us, but the balance was off, and a lot of things came up. We continued to prepare for the wedding, but I couldn't stop thinking about the fact that Bruce could be so angry at his own brother. Maybe he had a reason, but they were family, and they could have talked it over peacefully. But Bruce didn't want to have anything to do with his brother. Even more, he forbade me from communicating with him. But I wasn't going to listen to him. Yeah, Jack did the wrong thing, but you can't blame him for falling in love with me. The heart wants what the heart wants. Besides, I felt sorry for Jack. After this happened, he not only fought with his brother, but also with his parents. They thought he wanted to ruin our wedding. At that moment, I was the only person he had to talk to. So we kept in touch in secret and even took a walk a few times. The awkwardness between us disappeared and we became closer to each other. At some point, Jack went back to talking about how he loved me, and this time I didn't react so harshly. He walked me home one day and we planned to say goodbye. Suddenly, I understood that every evening he was returning home where everyone judged him and considered him an enemy. And Jack had to endure this every day. I felt like I was his strength and like I was attracted to him. Then I leaned over and kissed him. It was instinctive. The scales had tipped to Jack's side. I saw him not just as my boyfriend's funny brother, but as a strong, sensual personality. Compared to him, Bruce seemed like a tractor that took down everything in its path and felt no emotion at all. So Jack and I started seeing each other. Of course, we hid it. I was afraid to even imagine what Bruce would do if he found out what we were doing behind his back. But I forgot about all my worries and completely surrendered to this new feeling of love, which I had almost forgotten about after 3 years in a relationship with Bruce. But the wedding day was approaching quickly, and in that month of brief and romantic rendezvous with Jack, I realized that I didn't want to marry his older brother. So this conversation I was going to have was inevitable. I expected anything from Bruce. In my head, he was tearing the house to pieces and destroying everything that got in his way. But it turned out to be much easier. I guess it was because we were tired of each other, and the recent events had shown us that maybe we didn't know each other that well. Bruce said one single thing, and it was just awful. He had completely severed his relationship with Jack and no longer considered him a brother. And then he was gone. Jack and I breathed a sigh of relief, but our problems were just beginning. After Bruce's parents found out what happened, I became their enemy. I not only canceled the wedding they were hoping for, but I swapped one brother for another and brought turmoil to their family. I was just being honest, and I did what my heart told me to do, but they weren't the only ones who turned their backs on me. My mom and dad were furious when I told them the wedding wasn't going to happen. They were counting on getting rid of me, and the fact that I traded a great and mature guy for his little brother, who was hated by his whole family, just pissed them off. Even my friends didn't accept my decision. In their eyes, I was just a frivolous girl who had cheated on her fiancé with the first person she met. So I was all alone, with no one to turn to for help. It was just me and Jack. I have to admit, I thought for a second about whether I had made the right choice or not. And again, my dark thoughts started tearing me apart. I was an outcast to all the people I cared about. Yes, everything was fine when I was spending time with Jack, but otherwise, I just suffered, and I didn't know where my life was taking me. When I chose Jack, it was like getting on a train that took me away from all my family and friends. Yes, the train was comfortable and warm, but I didn't know where it was going. Perhaps my final station would be a completely ruined life. So I couldn't fully commit to a relationship with Jack, and I wasn't completely happy. These bad thoughts shifted the scales once again, and they leveled. I had no control over my life at all. It was as if all my decisions were being made for me. But then I had the opportunity to fix everything and return to a normal life. Bruce texted me one day that he had some of my stuff left and that I could come get it if I wanted. So I went to his house, and I saw the horror that he lived in. It was a mess, with trash and bottles on the floor, and Bruce looked very different. He had pale skin and bags under his eyes. He was clearly depressed, and he was trying to deal with his sadness using alcohol. It was horrible. He clearly needed help, but he didn't want to turn to anyone because he was embarrassed by the fact that his fiancée had gone with his brother. I couldn't let him ruin his life. He had so many plans and ambitions, and now he was just stuck in a deep depression. When I left, I told him he could always call me if he needed help. And so he did. We called each other every night, and I began to notice that he was getting better. The old Bruce started to climb out of that hole, and soon I noticed that it was the same guy I'd fallen in love with 3 years ago. One day, I was on a date with Jack, and my phone rang. It was Bruce, and my boyfriend noticed it and started asking me about it. He was pushing me for answers, and I told him that I talked to Bruce sometimes. Then Jack became nervous and yelled at me. I wanted to say that I was confused and that I was just trying to follow my heart, but he wouldn't listen. He was just shouting at me out of jealousy. And at that very moment, the delicate balance was broken again. And I was convinced that my relationship with Jack was a mistake in the first place. I shouldn't have traded my happy future for a fleeting relationship with him. So I just ran out of the cafe, took a cab, went to Bruce's. I gladly told him everything, apologized to him, and said that I had made a mistake. But I left Jack because I wanted to make things right. After a short pause, Bruce just laughed at me. It was exactly what he wanted. He was suffering, and he didn't want our relationship back. He only wanted to break my heart. It was his revenge for my betrayal. So, once he reached his goal, he didn't need me anymore. I'm alone now. All alone. All of my bridges were burned, and I lost everything. I have no loved ones, no friends, no family to support me. And all of this happened because I betrayed my fiancé. I wish it had never happened. That's such a sad ending. Would you be able to ignore the call of your heart? Write about it in the comments. And don't forget to share this video with your friends.